Hey everybody, my name is Justin Welch. I'm the GM for Vayda Farms, and we've had a couple farm locations, one in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and now one in Newport, Arkansas. And with me today here is John David Bassie. He's one of our Rams and has a background in agronomy. So he's one of the guys that helps go out and push our program and set it up on other farms for other people. We're just doing this today because we've heard a lot of concerns about radishes, the Daikon radishes, and how big they're getting, and some guys worried about termination and how their planters are going to perform with those radishes. So we're just here to have a conversation with John David and to go over a few things to see if we can flush out any problems or anything that we're seeing on our farms to let you guys know what's going on. So I'll just start out with a year ago we had in the Mississippi farm we had some pretty big daikon radishes in one field. John David, I think you see them. How would you describe them? Like in SO2 that year?
Yeah, so they were, as large as you see. That was, I don't believe I've ever seen them any larger anywhere else. So that, if there was going to be a problem, it would be in that situation. But we have not seen the problems. I think the termination date does determine a lot of that. But we're seeing, a lot of these, especially the big ones, these hard freezes that we're getting in late January and February is killing most of them, and then they go ahead and deteriorate very fast. I've got some pictures that show just where places in the ground where they had completely deteriorated in less than 10 days after termination, and some of those were actually chemically terminated. The freeze didn't kill, so we have not seen the problems. Now, one of the things I think that's helping us is we're keeping our seeding rates lower than some people. I think with some of these species like radish. I really don't like turnips for this particular reason because they grow almost completely on ground and are larger than a softball. But so they break down quick once we kill them. The microorganisms in the soil really get in there and consume them and turn those nutrients over. And when you've got your cereals planted in with it, your cereals pick those nutrients up very rapidly. And then a lot of times it just kicks the growth off on them tremendously, from that point. So most I'm gonna back up again. Most of the people I've seen that have had problems were planting higher seeding rates. They're looking at that 4 or 5 pound range. We try to stick to 3 pounds and a little bit under. With some of our blends, we'll go under depending on how many species is in the blend. So I think that alleviates a lot of our problem also.
So just to be clear, John David, when you're talking about seeding rates, you're talking about seeding rates of the daikon radish itself.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, we tend to stick below 4 pounds, it seems like on our farms, and where we have planted into the daikon radish, haven't seen much problems. We use a little bit of a row cleaner on our planter, which seems to help a little bit, but most of that organic matter is going to be under the ground. So we've seen more problems just with last year's crop stubble than the radishes caused.
Yeah.
So for the past 2 years we've been doing it, not seeing any stand counts that have been too low because of the radishes.
Yeah. So as far as interfering, you know, oh, if you see an interference, and I've seen it with the turnips before because they were terminated very late, and you got this large round ball sitting on top of the ground. Very little of it's actually in the ground a lot of times. Uh, and in those situations, what you're looking at is your planter bouncing or something like that. But I just have not seen it with the radishes, and a lot of these extreme cold weather that we're getting in January and February kills all the bigger ones off usually anyway. So
Yeah, I would also suggest that if you have a high population of radish, especially if you're going into corn or something like that, in my experience, the middle of February, probably if you still have any left after these freezes, let's go ahead and start thinking about chemical termination. Would you agree?
Yeah, so chemical, discussing actual termination timing. If you're planting corn, you need to whatever your cover crop is. If it's cereal, rye, wheat, triticale, whatever, I recommend terminating a minimum of 30 days ahead of planting your corn. I have seen, I believe I've seen yield drag in situations where it was terminated, 7 to 14 days ahead of planting. I've definitely seen stands struggle, and I think it's got to do with, in those situations where it was less than 30 days. I've seen stands of corn struggle to grow, and I'm pretty sure that's a temperature, soil temperature thing. Uh, and if you we alleviate that problem, even planting in the early window, as long as we get it terminated 30 days ahead.
Yeah, I'll agree totally. I believe we've seen that on our farm where we have terminated, especially before corn, um, a little bit later, trying to get maybe some more organic matter. But I really think it affected our stand counts, and I think it goes back to what John David said. I think it goes back to soil temperature a little bit. Also, think it goes back to how much down pressure you can keep on your planter to keep it from bouncing with so much stuff on top of the ground. So definitely, from our experience on our farm, especially in corn or whatever you're going to plant really early season, this could even go for rice too if you're planting rice early. Go ahead and get terminated at least 30 to 25 days before you plant.
Agree.
Any other concerns with the radish, John David, you seen?
Those have been my main questions all along, Justin. A lot of the farmers I'm working with that have not been planting them, that planted them this year and last year, that was a lot of their concern. How it affects planting, and does it make the planter bounce? But it's all of them have said, yeah, no problems. So we've worked. I don't want you stay with these people, you work with them, and then a lot of times it works out perfectly. Most of the time, it has.
Yeah, I'll echo that on our farm. The experiences we've had have been mostly positive. And then I think just going from experience, you can use Daikon Radish to get you started. And if you still have any fears about them, after you start breaking up some compaction, you can go to some more cereals. But as far as we've seen. Most of that stuff is going to break down early in the ground. I've never had any instance where I was just running through goo. So yeah, I'm not scared of them at all. We have them this year on our farm in Newport again, so we'll see how it goes there too.